On the Grand Tours then, the first one of the season is less than a month away, the Giro D'Italia. Saturday, May the 11th, it begins in Bologna. This year's route features 7 summit finishes, 3 individual time trials, maybe a route that would have suited you, Brad, with the 3 ITTs.
Yeah, I mean, you've still got to get up the climbs, but I mean, obviously that you would think would favour Dumoulin again going into it. Simon Yates has made no secret of his desire to try and rectify what happened last year. He's worked on his time trial and he's obviously won the time trial in Paris-Nice this year, so he seems to be, on track for that. Plus his form is ideal, so we spoke about it the last few weeks and just how perfect he seems to be and position he seems to be in. So it's all lining up well, but obviously you've got Bernal as well, fresh off his Paris-Nice win. He's an immense talent that I'm sure will win the Giro one day. Whether it's too soon to win the Giro this year, it might be a bit too much to expect 3 weeks out of him. But it's going to line up to be a fantastic race, and the Giro, the weather comes with the Giro in May, and snow. I mean, we see the changes last year. Who'd have thought with a week to go last year that Chris Froome would have won it? Yeah. So it's probably a better race to watch than the Tour.
It's a stacked field, as we said. So I'm going to ask each of you now to pick we'll start with the Giro, a winner and a dark horse, if you will.
Well, I'm going to go Simon Yates to win with the dark horse of Bernal.
Nice. Matt?
Well, I'm going to go Bernal to win with Dumoulin, my cheeky side bet.
Dumoulin, a dark horse. The lightest of dark horses.
Yeah, I want to say dark horse. I mean,
Samuel or Tom?
Run him. It's going to be Tom, not yeah. Oh, Sam. Sam's definitely a dark horse if he turns up.
Sean?
Well, the little bit of stage racing that we've seen, notably Paris-Nice, Bernal was very impressive. But as Brad said, the weather conditions that can change everything in the Giro, because you can have such horrible conditions and you can have such great conditions like we had last year. It was just fabulous weather right through. But at the moment, my pick would be Bernal.
And your dark horse?
Tom Dumoulin.
All right, 2 very, very light dark horses in there.
Great minds.
Brad, I want to talk about Big Tom, because you mentioned him last week, and so he's switched his focus from the Tour de France to the Giro. It's a race that he's won before. It's a course, as we mentioned, with the 3 time trials that obviously suits him. Is the decision to switch from focusing on the Tour to focusing on the Giro something you agree with? I mean, because he's going to have a go at both this year as well.
Yeah, I mean, he had a go at both last year, didn't he? I was surprised to see him as good in the Tour last year as he was. It was incredible. It's 2 podium finishes in 2 Grand Tours last year. He's an amazing athlete, really, and I'm surprised he's not gone and had 1 year where he's just focused on the Tour, because he's built for the Tour, and it's amazing he does what he does at the Giro, considering how tough it is and what he's the type of people he's got to go up against in Simon Yates, etc. Whereas the Tour, the likes of Geraint won the Tour. Tom's a similar rider to Geraint. The climbs suit him better. They're not as steep as the Giro. So yeah, it is a surprise. I'm not too sure what his motivation for it is. Having already won the Giro, you'd think he'd be branching out to try and win a Tour de France, or whether he thinks he's got more opportunities at the Giro because Sky have been so dominant when they get into the mountains of the Tour.
Give us your favourite then for the Tour.
Chris Froome.
Matt?
I'm going to go. Well, I said this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. Froome. I know he hasn't had an ideal run in, but he can just turn it around, I think, and he's got that much experience. I think he's going to be hard to beat. I really do.
You got a dark horse for us?
Geraint.
I think Froome as well. I've said it. I think he's got this will be his 5th Tour, and my dark horse is someone who's been in with a shout for the last few years. If he can stay upright, and it's probably his last chance to maybe win the Tour, is Richie Porte, because he is running out of time rapidly now. So
he can't seem to stay well.
I mean, if we see him in the form he showed in the Dauphiné 2 years ago and in the Tour of Swiss last year, particularly on the climbs, it'd be nice to see that Richie Porte. We know he's capable of it. It's just getting him to that point upright has been the biggest challenge.
Staying on his bike. He's always talked about as a challenger, as sort of,
He must be, is he 36 now? Approaching 37 maybe?
I think he might be young, but he's about 34, I think. But he said his years are numbered in terms of challenging for a Grand Tour, definitely.
And it's whether Trek have the firepower to support him at a Tour. Again, this is always going to be the biggest challenge for a lot of these teams is, can any of them challenge Sky in terms of horsepower?
What about the Vuelta, Sean? I mean, it's a long way away at this point. Anything can happen. As we know, it's the guys who tend to go for the Vuelta are the guys who maybe don't do so well at the Tour, and it's sort of their chance to get back what they could have won almost.
Yes, well, all the Grand Tours are a long ways off. Even the Giro is a long way, because now we're in classic mode, and we're thinking about the Cobble Classics and the Ardennes Classics. So it is early days to start talking about the Giro or the Tour. Vuelta, my God, it's a long way off. We don't even know who's going to be riding. I don't know. Quintana is the one who always seems to get together for the Vuelta, but he's also focusing on the Tour of France this year, I believe. So, yeah, depending on what way he performs in the Tour, but yeah. for me, if a Quintana focuses a bit on a Vuelta, I think he's a rider that can do that. He's proven already.
Can we see one of the main men for the Giro bookend their year? So can we see someone doing well at the Giro and then following up by sort of resting over the Tour de France and perhaps coming back?
Someone like Yates,
definitely,
yeah. Simon Yates.
I kind of think if things stay the way they are and everything, Froome does win a 5th Tour, G doesn't really get back to the form he was at for the Tour last year, we could see G go into the Vuelta and maybe trying to add the Vuelta title to his. Bearing in mind the World Championships are in Britain straight after that, and it's an opportunity for him to perform or maybe win a World Road title, because that's certainly something G could do on a course like that in Leeds and carry that. And with an outside bet, the oldest man in the world, Alejandro Valverde, for the Vuelta. At 49, by then he could, as world champion at the Vuelta, he could, he nearly won it last year. Did I say nearly won it? He was certainly up there with a couple of days to go.
He's always up there, yeah. Well, we want to know who you think will win the 3 Grand Tours this year. Please do send us your predictions to Twitter at Eurosport_UK.